And one. So it's so great to be here with you, Philippa. Tell us what city you live in.
Hi, Terry. Yes, I am from Cape Town, South Africa, the mother city.
Beautiful, such a nice place. And my son-in-law is actually from South Africa, and I just love people from there. They're just such beautiful creatures. And look, Philippa, obviously you are a very gifted soul. Being a global intuitive, and obviously, some of your specialties are, with your insight, pendulum reading, card reading, and, along these lines. But you also do a lot of plant retreats, which I'm really keen to go into and find out, because I know you include mushrooms in your plant retreats, and I'm really interested to go into depth about that and what happens in a person's mind. But what led you to recognizing that you wanted to actually embrace your gifts as a career?
It's kind of always been in the background. No matter what I've done, where I've gone, where I've worked, there's always been this part of me that knows I'm here to serve. I'm here to help others. So for many years, I did look for different modalities that I would resonate with, and the Hidden Mind Sound Corrective Protocol and bioenergy therapy found me. So
Wow.
once I heard this lady chatting about these modalities and how they help, um, people on the spectrum, ones that struggle with dyslexia, and most of my family struggle with ADD, ADHD, or dyslexia. So I was like,
Right.
this is the one. I'm going to study this, and it was over about 3-4 years because I studied both of the modalities consecutively, which was quite intense because people don't
Yeah.
know that when you actually study the modality, you go through that healing yourself. It's a lot more concentrated than just having a session every once in a while. You're in it.
Absolutely. Oh, look, absolutely. So, in actual fact, so you come from the family background of dyslexia and ADHD. Welcome, the world of neurodivergent people, and never be like, underestimate, because these people quite often can run rings around, the person who is not neurodivergent when it comes to their intellect, their intelligence, and all those things. So that's interesting that I've never heard you actually talk, not to say that you don't, but I haven't heard you myself talking about, helping people with this kind of situation, because there is so much out there. And for that fact, when I learned that you did do the Hidden Mind protocol and bioenergy healing, I didn't know there was an attachment. So, can you talk me through how that kind of a modality helps people that obviously do have those, issues with learning and processing, like with dyslexia and ADHD?
Yes, of course. So pretty much what happens is it's got to do with the hemispheres of the brain being connected. And a lot of us, through birth trauma, through little accidents that we have, bumping our head, falling off our bicycle, things like that, our hemispheres of the brain aren't connected. So they don't talk to one another. And that is the struggle with dyslexia in particular, because if you're reading something into your right eye, it's going into the left hemisphere of your brain, and vice versa. And if they're not talking, you can't see the full word. So your
I
brain
see.
literally only gives you half of the word, and this is why you struggle to read. So through the hidden mind, we connect the hemispheres of the brain so that you and correct any what we call corrections. You need to correct these little things in the corpus callosum and the different parts of the brain. But you can also filter throughout the whole body, like looking into the vertebrae. Are they all talking to one another? Is the spinal cord, is everything working, functioning correctly? Are all the electrical fields of the body working correctly? So we just correct the imbalances in the body, and then the body heals itself. It's an incredible
Wow.
tool. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, I did not know that. So, do you think, in your opinion, because I kind of, as I said, I'm surrounded by this kind of a situation, and I myself definitely have always been that person that struggled in school, and mine was more impulsive behavior and also lack of comprehending things, and yet my intelligence was, really was all there. But because
Yes,
you're not listening properly, or you're not paying attention, or you're a daydreamer, and then you get so much flack from that. I think one of the biggest issues that we see is that quite often when someone's gone to school, and back in my days, I mean, ADHD just was not a thing,
yep,
like what it is now. So you found yourself having a lot of self-esteem issues, and I find that people that do suffer from this have so much self-worth problems. And like I was saying to my own daughter, who also suffers it, I said, the reason that you felt dumb at some points in school is because you're smart. You're not actually dumb. Because if you were actually dumb, you wouldn't know you were. You wouldn't know any different, but you're aware. And I know I was aware that I felt like I had to learn differently. But I'd like to ask you the question: do you think this is a DNA issue that people are born with? Because I did hear you talk about, a fall, like if you fall off your bike, or obviously that disruption. What do you believe? Do you believe it's born into people, or do you feel like it does come about as a result?
so both, because a lot of us are walking around with what is known as perpetuating gene faults, and this is passed down through our bloodline. So many of us are walking around with struggles that actually aren't ours. It's just in our DNA. And when we correct it and we go back in the bloodline to our grandparent that it rooted with, we actually correct it on an energetic level for the entire bloodline. So it changes everything, and it also goes forward to our children. So if we heal it within ourselves, then our children won't struggle with it, because you can only do what
Mm.
you can only work with something that you know is there. If you don't know it's there, then you can't work with it. So our grandparents and our ancestors didn't know that they had these um, perpetuating gene faults or disorders, or trapped emotions from a great grandmother that was persecuted for being a witch, for instance. That filters down. You have that persecution, that witch wound in your field, and it's not yours.
Yes,
So
so
you
yes,
can release
definitely.
it. Yes.
Yes, I love that, because I mean, let's face it, the work both you and I do goes back ancestrally. Like, I often say that I go beyond seven. A lot of people say seven generations, but I believe that we have to heal and clear even beyond that. So, when you are actually, practicing these protocols and modalities, do you find that does it heal people of that? Or can you tell me about some of what the outcomes that happen when you're working with people through this?
So I'll give you a little a case study. I was working with a beautiful. She's an online coach as well, and a very good friend of mine. And I was working with her. She asked me to work with her son because he was struggling at school. He was only getting around 2 out of 10 for his tests, and it was really causing, it was knocking his self-esteem, because he was a very bright boy, very sporty, and it was really, she says, there was lots of slamming doors and tears. And they came to me on a Thursday, and we did a correction on him, and that we went just through some bioenergy and then a bit of this hidden mind sound corrective protocol. And then on Friday, he wrote a test at school, because I think they always used to write on a Monday and on a Friday. And on the Monday, when she went to school to drop her son, the teacher said, what changed? And she said, what do you mean? And she said, well, he got 9 out of 10. So what changed?
Wow.
So she says, well, all that happened was he had this session. And when I had the next session with him, he said to me, Auntie Pip, I can actually get 10 out of 10, but I don't want to make the other children feel, that I'm better than them. And I just said to him, my boy, you get 10 out of 10 because you inspire the ones around you to also achieve greatness. And since then, he's been acing school.
That is incredible. So was this quite some time ago? Like, have the statistics come through and been quite good ever since?
Yes. So this was around, I would say, 2.5 years ago. And
Wow.
it's been great ever since. So
Oh my
even to the
goodness.
point
So
of this beautiful coach decided to study level 1 bioenergy so that she can work with her family at home.
absolutely, absolutely. Wow, this is absolute earth-breaking stuff. This is absolutely mind-blowing, because how many people out there are struggling? For some people, some people feel like it ruins their life.
Yep.
To not be able to study properly, it prevents them from going to university. I know I dropped out of school really young, and I know that if I had the awareness, the help, the support, way back then, I mean, it would have made a difference. But what I did do, and I noticed the one thing that did work with me, is because I don't know, there seems to be an element of one-on-one. So I had a tutor, and as soon as I had that tutor, my grades just suddenly went right up. But how many people can unblock this? So can you talk me through like what that modality kind of looks like? Because obviously I know when I'm practicing hypnosis, for example, I don't specialize in children. In fact, I really didn't want to work with children. I love them to bits, but it wasn't my specialty. I always worked with adults, but I had a woman literally say to me one day, please, I need you to see my son. You've helped me so much. If you can help me, you can help him. So after a long while, she convinced me, and he had such a low self-esteem. He was at school and he'd been put into a special class. He was really battling. And when he came to me, I think the worst thing about it was, what was all his friends thinking? How it took such a huge blow on his self-esteem, and what that actually meant for him. And he just said, I just feel dumb. And he couldn't get through his assignments or his projects, and he was in the higher grade of primary school. Anyways, I said to him, and this is the kind of difference, I suppose, with NLP and hypnosis, and the way that works. I said to him, so what actually do you do that you're very good at, where you do put your concentration in? And he said to me, oh, nothing. He claimed nothing worked. He wasn't good at anything. He was dumb and all the rest of it. I said, now come on, there must be something. I mean, it could be sport, it could be anything. I don't care.
Yeah. What
And
do
he
you
said,
enjoy?
Exactly, right? So he says, well, I game. I'm a really good gamer. And you know what? I honed into it. I put him under the trans. We went into his, and I suppose this is, I'm giving you an example so you can talk to us through your kind of modality. So during the trans is just to relax his mind and allow him to open up and let the subconscious do the work. And then we channeled the all the elements, his strengths that he does through gaming, his alertness, his focus, the way he feels, the state that he gets in, and we moved it into his studies. And he literally had overnight success. But I mean, that's kind of done through the work that I do with the hypnosis, the NLP, and we do some modalities. Can you tell me how you actually go about what's involved in the protocol, with the bioenergy healing and the hidden mind? What does that look like in a session?
So the bioenergy and the also one of the points of bioenergy is to get your life force energy, your chi to move. Because what happens is when your energy becomes stuck, it becomes stagnant and it becomes sick. You wouldn't drink water from a dirty puddle, but you would definitely put your mouth to a beautiful, fresh water running down the mountain. So that's the same with our energy. And a lot of people don't understand that. So that's why movement is so important. So with bioenergy, it is a series of hand movements that we get your chi flowing and shifting and moving so that it flows better, so that your body actually heals itself. Um, with the hidden mind, it's slightly different because with that we use the beautiful sacred tool, the pendulum, which is why I developed a course to actually teach people how to use a pendulum, because it's just so amazing and it's been around forever. But we deduce with the pendulum. We also use crystals, intention, and scent, so to stimulate all of your senses, and then we correct whatever needs to be corrected with sacred sounds. And these are gifted to us by the person that wrote the Hidden Mind Sound Corrective Protocol. And how that actually came about, there's a little bit of a backstory. There was a man from Australia. His name was Cameron Dawson, and he was ill his entire life. But he had a lot of money, and he was always looking for ways to help himself heal. And after going through a lot of the medical routes, he decided to actually start visiting shamans around the world and gathering data as to why their ancient rituals and ceremonies actually correct, people's side effects of what's going on. And he paired up with Tom Griffin, who is from Ireland, and shared the data with him. And that's how the Hidden Mind actually came to be, was through collecting of data of ancient rituals that help to, because for instance, if in a tribe, if a woman has a child, there's a process leading up to the birth. Once she has the child, there is a bit of a ceremony that happens, the clearing of the trauma, the clearing of all the ancestral problems, so that this child can have the best possible outcome. But in Western society, we don't do that. A lot of women go through cesareans, they just go in, the baby gets taken out. There isn't the natural way that's been followed. And then, the hemispheres of the brain aren't connected because they didn't come through the birth canal, which automatically massages the skull and gets all the synapses firing to get the brain working correctly.
Oh,
So there's lots of these things that we do to save lives, but at the same time, it also does create problems later on. So,
wow, that's amazing. That's
yeah.
really interesting. I mean, I had to have three cesareans, and I know my husband being a chiropractor, he always says that the birth canal fires up. the
Yes.
brain and gets everything working, because it was the way that Mother Nature intended, of course, isn't it? So
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. So, when speaking of the pendulum, because obviously that's part of your ritual. And I remember being a teenage girl and, just for fun, my best friend would hover this like necklace and tell us how many children we were going to have. And I thought, oh my gosh, this has got to be a load of, rubbish, really. I mean, but we did it for fun. But, perhaps you can kind of talk me through how a pendulum can swing to the way of giving you so much insight.
It's such a beautiful question. So we are magnetic beings. Everything in life either pulls us towards it or repels us.
It's
If
true.
you are in tune, then you can actually feel that magnetic pull. I mean, if you meet a lover, there's just this pull towards that person, or a best friend, you just pull towards that person. That is on an energetic level. And it is the same with absolutely everything. You are able to also do the sway test, which is a body test. If you stand with your feet hip width apart and you just make your knees soft and you tune into your body, you can ask questions and your body will lean forward if it is for you, and it will lean backwards if it is not for you. So you could,
Oh,
for instance, say, "My name is Ian," and your body will move backwards. But if you say, "I'm Terry," your body will move forwards. So the pendulum works the same way. It's just an extension of your arm. So you would be working with your pendulum. Like, for instance, if I'm in the supermarket, I can ask, "Are these bananas going to be good for me?" And it will say yes or no. So yes, that's the reason I use the pendulum.
that's incredible, because actually I was thinking to myself, I'm not sure how she's going to convince me about this pendulum thing. But when you just discussed about how you stand and then you can ask a question like, what is your name? And then you sway forward or back. Well, that boom, that got me. I'll tell you why, because you would have heard of kinesiology, right?
Yes,
And I actually, one of my studies was psych kinesiology. It's not a specialty. I never really, went into it in a huge way. But Dr. Ian, my husband, is an absolute, he's a natural on kinesiology, and he can pick up through muscle testing. So, boom, you got me on that one, girl. So, how does the pendulum assist you to guide your clients?
so firstly, and one of the basis of the hidden mind, Tom Griffin, that created it, he's a kinesiologist as well. So a lot of the kinesiology is in the hidden mind sound corrective protocol. It's really beautiful. So working with the pendulum, I connect in with the other person's energy. So whether I'm doing in-person healing, whether I'm doing distance healing, it's quite simple. We are just energy. So time and space doesn't matter. So I connect in with the person's energy, making sure that, first of all, um, I ask permission to work with you, and the pendulum will say yes or no. And then I also ask, will the subconscious, oh, now I've lost the word.
Give permission, I
uh,
suppose. Grant permission, like this. I
Sabotage.
know that.
That's
Yeah. Oh, sabotage.
that's
Okay.
that's the word. Will the subconscious
Ah,
sabotage? Because sometimes, the belief that is in our subconscious and our conscious mind aren't aligned. So
mm,
generally, when a no comes up for that, then I ask my client to drink some water, and I drink some water also to just ground again. And then we ask the question again. A lot of the times it's just because you dehydrated. And other times there is something there that needs to be cleared before it will just allow you to work with them. And yeah,
Okay.
so once you tuned into that energy, then you can start asking the questions. You can start asking, are the chakras aligned? Are their auric fields working correctly? Are all the meridians in their body working correctly? And if they are, if it's out of alignment, we correct it through the sacred sounds at the end of the session. Yeah.
I love that. So I was just about to ask you that actually. So um, Dr. Ian uses a book and he uses the kinesiology and it actually shows where the trauma is in the body and whether what age it came from, and it'll pick up like, you know, whether it was a molestation or a violation of some sort, or whether it was an abandonment or whatever it was, it'll come up. And it's incredible how apt it is, and you're not having to rely on yourself either and your mind. You're actually kind of completely relying on the person's body. So I was going to say to you, what do you do? Like, you know, if you were to say to a listener now, if they were out of balance and they were feeling really off kilter, what are some of the recommendations you would say for a person to bring themselves into a balance? Is there anything that's like a DIY that you could share with our listeners?
Most definitely. To ground yourself. So many of us are not grounded. We really aren't, and we actually don't realize how important grounding is and how important our breath is. You know, a lot of us hold our breath when we're in a situation. We actually hold our breath. We're stopping our life force energy from entering our body. And just being outside. So many of us, we just wear shoes all the time, and then we climb into a bed. Our feet aren't actually touching the ground, and that is the importance of grounding, because we're so stuck in our heads, and not enough of us are living from our heart space. We are all just so
Mm,
busy overthinking, and when you are in that mode, you your nervous system is in overdrive, and you're in the fight and flight. So you actually cannot think properly because all your blood runs to your limbs. It's not in your brain where you need it. So you'll find that if you are in a very difficult situation, stop and breathe. The moment you breathe and you ground yourself, all of a sudden the answers just start coming to you and you can actually think clearly. But too many of us get into that panic mode, and then, you know, you can't seem to make sense of anything, can't find a solution.
mm.
Everything's just a problem and a problem. So really amazing sacred tools, your breath, grounding. Those are two absolutely free things that you can do for yourself at any time. We are also 90% water. So fill your body with as much water as possible, because it helps our bodies work correctly. It also helps us to think clearly, but it also helps us to receive messages correctly. You know, if you are drinking water, you can actually put intentions into the water and then drink that water, and it will go into your body and it will change the cells and everything in your body to meet that frequency, which is, I just
Amazing.
love that. Yeah.
Oh, so do I. Actually, they actually did a scientific test on this. I'm not sure if you
Mm-hmm.
heard about it. And they had people who gave love into the water, and they gave affirmations of the water, and they set the intention of, you know, all of this beautiful peace and unconditional love and light to go in. And then they got another group of people to do the opposite, to be just feeling the way they were, angry, resentful, bitter. And they held their water and they froze it. And under microscopic telescope, it actually came up as a completely different, all the molecules, all the water was a different color under
Yes.
that, you know, under that microscopic. So it just goes to show. So I love that. So grounding, breath work. I mean, sometimes just I think we need to hear these things. We need on a day-to-day basis just to go, you know what? today I'm going to take my shoes off. I'm going to walk over to the park or somewhere where it's green, and I'm just going to feel that grass underneath my feet. I mean, just something simple like this, is so helpful. So obviously,
Yes.
like, you've got a gift. You were saying in our conversations before that you've got this. I know this gift. I've actually got a very similar one myself, but it's where people come up to you and they'll just tell you things that they've not talked about to anyone before. Like, you've got this magnetic aura to attract people to just drawing the information and talking. Now, obviously, again, that is an energetic component, and their energetic aura obviously sees your aura and says, this is the person you need to speak to so they can help you. What kind of issues do you find, like your typical client? When you get underneath it, you do the pendulum, you do all of the, different works that you're doing. What's usually going on for them?
At the end of the day, we all struggle with trauma. None of us get out of this life unscathed. We all, and it's all different levels. Some people go through really crazy, crazy, unspeakable things, and others go through grief and heartache. And it doesn't matter what level it is, we all absorb the trauma in different ways. A lot of us are from post-war parents and grandparents, and they just had to get on with things. So that is actually the sickness of our society currently, is just shove it under the carpet, get on with it, move on. And people are bursting at the seams because they are holding on to so much. So the usual things that people will come and, just offload is something's happening with a lover, or they feel that they are a bad parent, or it's just, they just share these things. And half the time they say to me, I don't know why I'm telling you this. We're standing in a line at a supermarket, and I just, they just, sometimes I don't know why they're telling me this either, but I'm there and I'm listening.
That's incredible. That's just so crazy. Like, even in a line at the shopping center. But I think too, a lot of people don't always know what's going on. Like, if they come to you symptomatically and they're not getting on with their lover, or they're feeling guilty about raising their kids, or they're having those obviously things. I'm sure they could talk to you until the cows come home, so to speak, about all the problems. But I guess what I'm hearing, what you're saying, Philippa, is it's not really what's going on up here at the surface, but it's what's going on underneath, where the deep rooted issues are coming from. So is that what you're usually doing? So do you usually utilize the pendulum first and then go through the process of going through the clearing? Or what does that usually entail? If I was, say, to come and see you, and let's just say I wanted to clear out some sabotaging, because we've all got a sabotaging pattern of some sort. I mean, we wouldn't be human otherwise.
Mhm.
Where would you start with someone like me?
So I like to start having a clarity call, so that you know exactly what we're going to be working with. Because
Sure.
a lot of people come into these things and they don't know what it is, or so I like to have a clarity call with them first. So there I connect with their energy. I find out, what is of importance for us to work with first of all. Am I going to be using the hidden mind modality? Am I going to be using the bioenergy? Are we going to be releasing some trapped emotions or heart walls through the emotion or the body code? So I connect with that first. So then I would be able to say, listen, this is how many sessions you will benefit from, and what we will be doing over those sessions, but not limited to, because as we release something, sometimes other things now start to surface because your body feels safe to do so. So then basically each session is bespoke. We connect into the energy. What are we doing today? What needs to happen today? and we work on that. And then after the session, I ask, well, how many days do we need between now and your next session for your body to actually process? Because some of us process things a lot faster than others. Some of us can
Yes.
release things a lot faster than others. You know, some people I can only release 1 or 2 things in a session, and others you can release 5 or 7 things in a session. So
Mm.
it just depends on the individual, and just working gently with their energy to have the best outcome.
Wow, that's exciting too, because if someone's really suffering, you know what it's like when people are stuck, when they're suffering depression, or they're just not able to get out of that, that funk that they're in, and it's been going on and on and on for so long. And then suddenly they get someone like yourself, Philippa, that can really tune in, and you're not having to do all the thinking. You're allowing the energy to guide, and not only that, but also their body, and what you're picking up with them is really telling you. So by kind of mapping out for them, well, this is what it's going to look like, and I guess like on the first session that you would have with them, because it would be quite exciting. I imagine, like, when a person, I know what it's like actually, when a person is actually releasing so much junk, it feels so good. And, I often find that if they've, the worse they've felt, the better they think they feel. But in actual fact, it's not that they're feeling euphoric, it's just that they have shifted from such a very, very poor level. So let's talk a little bit now about, how your clients also kind of trigger memories of your own life, and how things come up of her life through you. Now, can you talk me through that?
Yes. So part of what happens when I'm working with someone is memories will pop into my mind. And in the beginning, I thought it was crazy. And then one day I just had this message like, share this experience. And when I shared it, because I thought, what does this have to do with anything? When I shared the experience, all of a sudden my client was like, no, this resonates. I can totally understand. And so I realized that sometimes I will have memories surface, and because we're all connected. So just by sharing that, they can resonate with maybe their situation or something that's happened to them, and it can pull more information up to the surface, something that they might have forgotten about, or have shoved underneath the carpet, pushed into the closet, and now you share that, and all of a sudden they feel safe enough. My main purpose is to hold space so that people are able to heal, because so many
Mm,
don't feel safe enough to heal. They don't know how to, they don't know what to do. They don't know what is there to heal. Some of them know about the big traumas, but they don't know about, we at all different ages, we take things in a different way. If I had to come and take your pen from you, this would not break your heart compared to if you
mm,
were a little girl and I took your Barbie doll from you on the playpen. It's like, that for you is the end of the world. So
yeah,
you experience these
relevance.
traumas in
Mm,
different ways at different ages, and that's how we correct it. For
yeah.
yeah.
That's incredible. And I mean, I love hearing this, because I know how many people suffer in this world, and how many people do need that healing. And as you know yourself, just as peers, I encourage all the people that come into my community to actually listen to their own self, and be guided by your own background of where you've come from, what you've suffered. And, as you learn how to intuitively speak from your own point of view, how powerful that is, and how that person that's going to listen, because obviously most of the people that I connect with anyway are coaches, healers, leaders, and they're into the energy work. So it's almost like they people are going, how did you know that? Like, are you a psychic? Have you been looking through my window? But and then of course knowing the dreams, like knowing what they really, really aspire to. So obviously now, as we talked about the pendulum, because you do have a great love of the pendulum and you even teach on it, right? So what are you actually, recommending that your clients use the pendulum for?
So my biggest pull towards the pendulum was, for so long, you have these messages come through, you have your intuition, and can you trust it? We create these stories around our lives to make things okay. We create these stories and these limiting beliefs, things always happen in threes, and it doesn't matter if my day starts well, it's always going to end badly. That's how I know. There's these things that we tell ourselves, and the pendulum gives you a definitive yes or no in the moment for your highest and greatest good. But we can change our minds. We have free will, so we can change our minds. So that's how the outcomes will change. You can decide to turn right instead of going left, and things change. So with the pendulum, you can really tune in, and this is also, you need to trust it. You
Yeah.
ask it the question or make the statement, and it will give you the answer. But then trust it. A lot of people would then be like, is that really the answer? Oh, I don't want that answer. Let me try again. And then the pendulum will start to play around with you. Then it just goes
Right.
into.
So how do you get
So
that? How do you train them? What do you encourage them to do? I know with Ian, it's about breaking state, or going and having a glass of water or coming back to it another time. But what do you usually say to people if they start playing with it and then they don't get the answer they want, so they start trying to manipulate it? How do you get away from the whole manipulation side of it?
So when you do my pendulum course, it happens over 3 parts. Part one, I teach you how to connect your pendulum, and we do that through a beautiful guided meditation, because not every pendulum is for you. You also need to find the one that wants to work with you and that you resonate with. And I know this, when I chose my first pendulum, I decided to work with a wooden pendulum because it doesn't absorb your client's energy. So I wouldn't have to clean it after each session, which you have to do with a crystal pendulum.
Oh,
And there were beautiful ones, and I wanted this one and I wanted that one. And they were like, no. And the most basic wooden pendulum was like this, this is the one. And I trusted it. And I've had that pendulum for many years. My son recently lost it somewhere. But I once again thought, I suppose it's time for a new one. So I'm on
maybe,
the hunt.
absolutely. Yes. So, it's time to upgrade. Well, I can see how intuition and openness and clarity just plays such a huge role. And I can see how you doing so much energy clearing with your clients, and, also being able to give people the tools, like how to, really give them the resources to look at the pendulum. And I really want to get to the retreats, because I know that everything you do is probably, I imagine, is completely like maximized inside a retreat. I can just imagine you wouldn't hold back on anything. It would be the whole magic formula, from card reading to pendulum swinging to obviously the bio healing and all those beautiful things. And I believe your retreats are extremely popular too. People love coming, but you use mushrooms. So can you tell me about that? Like, what made you, because I know a lot of the shamanic healers do this, and I've always thought, well, from my own point of view, is that okay? I wonder if it is okay. And there's that little kind of part of me, because I see the greatest people doing it, and how it opens their mind and all this. But can you tell me about the mushroom, how you got onto it, your own personal experience, and what the feeling and the advantage of it is?
Yes, of course. So I'm an energy medicine and plant medicine motivator. I believe that we can heal ourselves when we are given the right tools that resonate with us, because not everything resonates with us. And each of us need to find what works for us. When it comes to our beautiful Soma retreats, the mushroom itself is a very sacred teacher. It is the actual communication center of the planet. If you think of nowadays, we've got fiber so that we can stay connected. Mushrooms and their underground network are actually the communication of the entire planet. Everything is connected. The mushroom itself is just the flower of the actual, the mass of nervous system, should I say, underneath the ground of what mushrooms actually are. That's the energy, that's the power of the plant. So when you take psilocybin, what will happen is this beautiful teacher plant will connect you to the universe like nothing else can. You will actually feel that you are part of the universe. You will know everything.
Oh wow.
And
I
that
mean,
is
that's what they
what's,
say is ultimate, isn't it? Like being like united in that oneness and that multidimensional. So it
and
connects you
that's
with
what,
it connects you with everything.
yes, with source. People that have come to my retreats have worked out their entire business plan of their entire client portfolio. I've had people that have gone through past life regression and healed womb trauma that was keeping them from having children. We've had people deal with severe trauma issues, things that they might not know or have hidden from, that is in their past, that has kept them from feeling really connected and able to love a partner or able to love themselves. I've had clients that have lost 30 kilograms after a retreat, because they just all of a sudden understand what self-love means, and taking care of their body. And what so many of us, we really struggle with this. Just it really gets you connected to source. At the end of the day,
Mm.
if you know, you can't unknow these things now. And so that's why it is scary for some, but
And so I
is
was
a
going to
very
ask you that.
gentle, it is a very gentle, beautiful process. What is scary is there are a lot of people out there nowadays holding these mushroom ceremonies that aren't trained shamans. So they do not actually know how to energetically clear the space before the ceremony, and how to hold the space for all the guests in the ceremony, and to transmute any and all negative and nefarious energy that does come out of the people that are in the ceremony, and transmute that, and clear the energy again, so that you are in a safe environment. Your environment is the most important thing. If people do it in a recreational setting, you've got people around you that you don't know, that are talking to you, saying things, music, whatever. It's all these things that can trigger you. But when you are in a sacred ceremony with a shaman that is trained for many years in holding space, you are safe. And it is a
Mm.
journey within. It is not there for you to really like hang out with people, and it's not a social thing. I always tell my clients, ask the medicine for the answers that you're looking for, and it will give
Wow.
it to you, but you need to be
Wow.
clear. So that is why a retreat, it happens over a weekend. On the Friday, we all come together. We do an opening ceremony where we now hold the space for everyone over the weekend. We have a lovely meal together just to get to know one another, because it's a very personal journey, but yet the people that come together for the journey, it's for a reason. Your energies are
Yes.
coming together for a reason. And then,
Absolutely. I believe that.
yeah. And then the Saturday morning, we normally get up, we'll take a nice walk, we'll do some Qigong, get the body moving, get you grounded, have a very light meal, because then you fast the rest of the day. And we will take you through some process work, depending on what the intention of the retreat is. We put together process work. So my next retreat, we're going to be doing a beautiful constellation, using the planets and all of us as putting us on page where we want to be going with our ascension. And then in the afternoon, everyone gets time to relax, go journal, go sleep, go process, go really do whatever you need to do to get yourself in the space for your journey. And then when the sun sets, everyone will receive their medicine. They're all vetted beforehand. We make sure that we know what medications they're on. We know what traumas they've gone through, as much as we possibly can, so that we know how much space we are holding for them. And then they go into journey, and we hold the space for them, and each person is different. Some people just go within and they have these mind-blowing experiences. There are some people that on a health level, they need to purge, to release some toxins from their body.
Mm.
There are people that might want to laugh. There are people that might want to cry. But when you come out of the journey, we are there. We then take you through to the fire to just go and look at the fire and just allow everything to start to process. And on the Sunday morning, we then have a big breakfast together because everyone's very hungry, and we can share, and we do our closing ceremony. So it is a whole event. And then the medicine keeps working with you for months afterwards. You don't
Wow.
have to. A lot of people tend to do a lot of journeys back to back, and they don't actually need to. The medicine is still working with you for months. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. So I was going to ask you that actually. So, with a person, do they, like obviously you hold that space for them. So you're really taking care of them and making sure that that is safe. And you've got the right protocols in place too, like making sure you know the medications that they're on and everything like that. I was going to ask, is it addictive? Because a lot of people would, like people get addicted to this kind of mind expanding kind of element. But I know you are obviously opening up that channel for them anyways. But what's your experience with that?
So it isn't addictive at all. We do offer aftercare with microdosing, which a lot of people tend to want to do. It helps them with clarity, concentration, lowering anxiety, anyone that struggles with depression. There are different kinds of strains of mushrooms that you can actually speak to a specialist, and you can receive your microdosing that helps you. I mean, so many people are struggling nowadays with such chronic depression, and they don't know that there is a little capsule that they can take to alleviate them from this terrible sickness in our
Pain.
society. Yeah. And
And not only
anxiety.
that,
I
but
mean, how many
yeah.
people are struggling with anxiety?
Oh,
So plant medicine is there for a reason. Nowadays the
mm,
cannabis industry is starting to boom because they're starting to use it as a medicine, which is the
yes.
actual way of using it.
Yes, I can remember
So
when I was young, I tried a little bit of the hoochie coochie, when someone that worked in the arcade, a much more mature person, I was only a young girl at the time, and he was, like a mature man, and he said to me, "You call it, they call it drugs, we call it medicine." And I thought, oh, that's interesting because I'd never
I've got
heard.
goosebumps everywhere.
And then of course now you hear about it, that it is definitely out there. So wow, I imagine the retreats are pretty full. They must be very popular with people, coming on in. And you do them, you offer them twice a year at this stage, Philippa, do you?
Yes, we offer them twice a year. We like to hold it around the equinox because it's a beautiful, there's a lot of change. Things are changing. It's either springtime or fall time, and there's a lot of either letting go or rebirthing. So it's a
Yeah.
lovely time of the year. But these ceremonies can be held at other times. We just tend to like to work with the moon and the cycles of the planet.
Wow.
I also love to teach about plant medicine because, each and every single one of us, we can find out what plants are indigenous to our area, and we can start to grow them in our garden and find out what is actually going on. We've here in South Africa, we've got a beautiful plant called the wilde-als, which is known as African wormwood. It grows in sand in my garden. I hardly even have to look after it. But if my son or any of us have got a cold and flu, it is our go-to. I just pop it in some hot water, we drink it, it flushes out your body, and it heals you from colds and flus. These are things that are non-toxic. These are things that you can, each of us, depending on where we live in the world, we have plants around us supporting us to live
Now,
healthy lives.
I hope it is on your bucket list to be traveling around the world and doing these retreats in different parts. Is that going to be a possibility? Because I know that a lot of people listening to this are going to go, I want to be involved in this retreat. And I suppose if you're someone who wants to know about Philippa's retreat, she only needs to give you a copy of this podcast. And yeah, I know what I'd be doing. So yeah, that's absolutely incredible, and obviously, you follow your intuition with everything you do, and if there's someone out there that is listening right now and they need a breakthrough, because obviously that's what you are working with, and these retreats are, obviously when you're calling people in, what are you kind of telling them that they're going to be, where are they usually, what are they suffering, and what are they really wanting, like what's that next level that they want, and that you're gonna be giving them.
A lot of us are walking around feeling stuck. We are feeling like there's something bigger, or we don't feel like we're good enough. Um, and I want you to know that none of that is true. You are here with a purpose, no matter how big or small it might be in your mind. It is in in the collective, it's huge. You are here. You have a special purpose that you need to share with the world. And so, by healing yourself, by releasing your trapped trauma, by letting go of things that aren't serving you, that are keeping you stuck, you start to ascend, and your energy will start to vibrate on a higher frequency, and you will call those people into your life that are looking to work with you. But if you are not if you are depressed, and that's the frequency you're sending out, so you will have more of that around you. So at the end of the day, especially parents, I'm like, you cannot be more incredible for your children than healing yourself. Healing yourself
Yeah.
and letting go of those things that trigger you. Our triggers are our biggest gifts because it actually shows us where we need to work and what we need to heal. And too many of us escape from those triggers through using of drugs or alcohol or numbing our brains with just watching TV. Those are all escaping tools. We don't want to sit with the pain. We don't want to be present with
Mm,
it because it's too much. But at the end of
mm.
the day, it will subside. You won't always feel that way. You do the work and it will release and you will feel lighter and you will be able to move forward and become unstuck. So
Wow.
inevitably, we all have our gifts, and as I said, big or small, but there are people out there that need to hear from you, that need to talk to you, that need to see you, that need to learn from you. We all have our medicine. Everything is a medicine. And if you tap into your medicine and you share your medicine with others, the ones that are looking for you will find you. The ones that need to hear your message will hear it. And the ones that don't, it's just not the right time. And they will find it through the frequency that they are looking for. So,
How beautifully
yes.
said is that? Wow, what a privilege this is. And I am sure there's going to be a lot of people that really want to get in contact with you. So, obviously, we're going to have the link right here so people can get in contact with you so they can be part of your healing, whether it's an online healing, whether it is you're going to be involved in the retreat. That retreat and everything you do certainly sounds like, it's opening up so much in your world when you can go from where you've been stuck into shedding excess kilos, shedding excess pain, getting rid of the sorrow and the stuckness, and also writing a business plan. Wow, I mean, people must be absolutely singing your praises, girl. I just want to thank you so much. Before I let you go, is there anything else you would want to share here for our listeners?
I would like to share that you need to create your own medicine pouch. Really look at the things that light you up, the tools that you want to work with. If there's something that you're wanting to do, go and do your due diligence, learn a bit more about it, and use that in what is known as your energetic medicine pouch. Gather the knowledge that you want. Stop doing the things that you don't enjoy because that is
Yes.
really not serving you. It is an old paradigm that you have to do all these things aren't that don't make you feel good, and that's not our truth. Our truth is to do things that light us up, shine our bright crazy light, and everyone around us will gravitate towards that. So if I can pass on any information, just grab a journal, write your stuff out, sing your stuff up, move your body. It's all normal. All these little things that we don't get taught. We get taught to behind a desk and get stuck, or
Oh,
sit and
people are
watch
so
TV. And
overwhelmed in information, aren't they? They're like
yes,
drowning in information, and this is what they need. They need this profound experience. Well, you know what? We are live on my YouTube channel, and I have people watching, which I don't pay much attention to my YouTubers, but they are very grateful. I do have people saying, how grateful they are for your help. So please
would you?
ensure that you give us all your information. We'll have it in the link, and you know what to do, people. You contact this lady, get involved in her beautiful healing, her retreats. Put your name down twice a year, and you know that whether it's in the year 2022 or the year 2028, she is dedicated to your pouch of medicine. Thank you so much for your beautiful time, Philippa.
Thank you, Terry. It was an honor to be here.